round and natural. Hello, today I will show you how to create a wicker basket for a doll stroller named Lili. For this, we will need willow rods, one at a height of 160 centimeters and the other at 140 centimeters. We will use the taller rods for the basket's skeleton, which is called the frame. To weave the basket, we need the following tools: a material or string to bind the branches, a spray bottle with water, a mallet, pliers optional, and a knife, a sponge. The most important tool, however, is the folding mold, which will shape the basket properly. The mold consists of 3 parts: the base, the roof, and the bottom. We need to attach the bottom to the mold using screws and a drill. Oops. We need to trim and even out the black ends of the willow rods that remained after soaking and stripping them. It's best if the willow fits perfectly into the holes and doesn't fall out. We insert the taller willow rods, the so-called frame, into the prepared holes in the bottom. These rods will create the skeleton of the entire basket. Depending on the type of basket, the number of these frames can range from a few to several. We finish the frame of the wicker basket stage and move on to the next important step, which is the gimka, the weaving strip that holds the shape and binds the frame together. For this, we need 3 willow rods. We trim the thin ends to the same height. We place the willow rods under 3 consecutive frames. We weave the gimka in the following way. The last rod goes behind the first, always going to the right. Last behind the first. Last behind the first. Last behind the first. We gently press the frame against the mold, slowly giving the basket the intended shape. We continue weaving the gimka with 3 willow rods. For basket weaving, you always need a lot of space. If the frame gets damaged, we need to replace it with a new one. We continue weaving around the bottom. Later, the frames will be tied together. We always need to keep an eye on a uniform weaving pattern. It's very easy to miss something, and then you have to go back, as you can see here. Last behind the first. We always make sure to press the frames against the mold. The bottom should not move too much, so I need to secure it to the mold additionally. We're getting close to finishing the first layer of the gimka. We need to cut off the 2 long ends of the willow rods and add 3 more to continue from the ones we cut. So we begin the second layer of the gimka. Always remembering to press, even with a gentle use of the mallet. It's a bit monotonous, but we continue with the principle of last behind the first. And we continue last behind the first. We trim the unnecessary ends. With 2 layers finished, we can press the frames to the mold and tie them together using string or a piece of material. Sometimes this can cause some problems. We did it. We have tied the frames, and they now closely follow the mold's shape. We can continue weaving the gimka. We place 3 willow rods under the next frames and continue. It's a bit harder now since the frames are tightly against the mold. However, this ensures a beautiful final result in the form of a lovely basket. We replace the short rods with longer ones. And continue weaving. We trim off the 2 long ends. And we replace them with the last 3 willow rods. We finish weaving the gimka, trimming off the unnecessary ends. We repeat the actions until we reach the desired thickness for the gimka band. We trim the ends and insert new willow rods. We trim and insert more. We continue weaving the gimka, crossing the last rod behind the first, skipping 2 frames. We continue weaving. We select 3 more willow rods, trim them, and insert them. We continue weaving the gimka. We check if the frames are aligned properly. We sort through a bunch of rods to ensure they're of the same height. We visually check if they have any damage. We discard any unnecessary or damaged rods. We moisten the dried willow with a wet sponge to restore its flexibility. Now, we will trim all the ends at an angle so they fit well against the mold. We need several more rods than the number of frames. Trimming is a time-consuming but necessary task. With these prepared rods, we can begin weaving the main part of the basket. Under each frame, we insert 1 rod and weave behind the next frame. We continue, inserting 1 willow rod under each frame. We now weave behind 2 and 3 frames at a time to speed up the process. Every now and then, we check to make sure the frames are aligned straight. We continue weaving the basket. We add more rods, constantly pressing them against the mold. We continue weaving and inserting new rods until there's 1 under each frame. We replace any damaged parts with new ones. We continue weaving using the one rod over every frame technique. The basket literally grows right before your eyes. We continue weaving, crossing every other frame. If we run out of rods, we add more. We keep weaving, always making sure to press the weave tightly against the mold. If necessary, we add more willow rods, cutting off the short ones and replacing them with new ones. basket weave is getting close to the edge of the mold. We loosen the string holding the frames together. We attach the roof mold to our wicker basket. We secure the roof mold with screws, which sometimes causes problems. We adjust the string and the positioning of the frames. We continue weaving the basket, aligning it with the edge of the mold. We trim the excess ends. We begin building the roof for our basket. We continue weaving, crossing the willow rods for each frame. We trim the excess ends. We continue weaving, always using one rod for each frame. We continue weaving the roof to match the shape of the mold. We check if the basket is straight and ensure there are no loose spaces in the weave. If necessary, we adjust the mold and press the frames tightly against it. We continue weaving. We weave the roof of our wicker basket, crossing the rods for every other frame. We cut and continue weaving. We We trim any unnecessary ends and continue weaving the roof. We choose new willow rods and cut them to the proper length. We add more willow rods, trim them, and weave them in. We repeat the process until we achieve the desired height of the weave. We weave the roof of our wicker basket, crossing the rods for every other frame. We trim, add more, and continue. We remove the string temporarily holding the frames together. We take out the roof mold. We tie the frames together again. We trim any excess and add more willow rods, weaving them to achieve the desired roof shape. We finish weaving the roof and trim it to the desired height. We use a mallet to align the edges to the proper height. We moisten the weave using a sponge. We take out part of the wooden mold, which can sometimes be tricky. We begin weaving one of the final basket finishes, called the braid. Sometimes additional tools are needed to remove a stuck mold piece. In extreme cases, a stuck bottom is much easier to solve. I continue weaving the braid to finish the basket. There are many different ways to finish a basket. This is one of the safest. We moisten the dried willow with a wet sponge. The final braid keeps the entire basket in its shape. Types of braids will be discussed in a separate video. Using various tools, we finish weaving the braid, which must be the same on both sides. We moisten the dried willow with a wet sponge. The second layer of the braid. Last weavings, we carefully monitor the proper pattern. I press the braid and trim any unnecessary willow ends both on the outside and inside. The wicker basket is finished. We assemble the base for the wicker stroller. The wicker stroller is ready. Round and natural,